Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and for at least the next minute or two, I am solo. I am just awaiting Fuzzy Belvedere to join, and we are going to break down two pretty big topics to get into. And of course, we had some controversy, if you will, Xbox controversy, which Xbox players are not too unfamiliar with, I should say, on Friday. Friday, in my opinion, was probably not the greatest for Xbox news. Obviously, tip of spear, Fable has been delayed until February of 2027 to give it its own room to shine. And to be quite fair, I don't have a problem with that. I am perfectly okay with the fact that that game has been delayed. Why? Well, I mean, the only spot for it would have been in November or December. December, to be honest with you, is kind of like putting a game out in no man's land. It happened with Indiana Jones, and even though I was very excited to play that game, December is a stressful month for a lot of people. It's the holidays, no matter what holiday you celebrate. It's the end of the year. People are more concerned of putting presents underneath their trees or delivering gifts to their loved ones than they are about playing games. So December, not the greatest for an IP like Fable that honestly deserves its shine. Honestly, just looking at the playing field, November, listen, Fable's going to be a big game. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that game, but the truth of the matter is that Grand Theft Auto is a behemoth. I know that I made a lunatics bet publicly on Friday's show where I said that I actually think that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 could, should, and will give GTA a run for its money. Who's ultimately going to win? Well, I mean, Grand Theft Auto is going to be probably the best-selling game of the year. This is not a surprise. I've said it before, I stick to it. I think it's going to break every conceivable record known to entertainment, and that includes film and TV. Music is also, I think it's gonna outdo everything. It's Grand Theft Auto. It happens once, usually every decade. This one is a little bit longer there for the Belvedere. This one is closing in on 13 years since Grand Theft Auto 5 released, and all Grand Theft Auto 5 has done since 2013 is been in the top 10 for MPDs for as many minutes, years, and hours there are in a day. It just continues to, I always jokingly say, check your cushion couches because you might have 5 or 6 copies in there because everybody has bought it at least 3 or 4 times. And I'm not joking because it has sold over 100 million. I don't know what the actual number is, but it's pretty up there. So that, it being delayed is fine. Give it its space. It doesn't need a direct, obviously. I don't know what next January's direct is going to be, but it's not going to be Fable. They might have it in there to kind of, get people excited. Hey, it is coming out in February, whatever, but that's fine. The other thing that I thought was odd, and that was the interview with Matt Booty. I like Matt. I've never met him personally. I'm hoping to change that this year. But one of the pointed pieces of the conversation was the logos thing. Look, I watched a lot of podcasts that talked about this. I have not changed my mind. I think having your rival logos on your show, your 25th anniversary show, is really, really bad messaging. I kind of feel like, I have a whole spiel. You know what? Before we get into that topic, Let me welcome in Fuzzy Belvedere. Fuzzy, what's going on, brother? How the heck are you feeling? Did you get did you get a chance to play any games this weekend? Because I know that I was up to, oh my God, 2:43 on Saturday morning to play James Bond, which, my God, is one of my favorite games of the year. It is very Uncharted. It is very Hitman. And it is a game that I not only highly recommend you buy, I am probably going to play through that game a second time after beating it. It is that good. How you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Oh, I'm feeling great. Glad to be here with you. In the midst of getting everything packed up so we can start the road trip tomorrow. 007 is going to be one of those games I wind up picking up after I get back. I've been dedicating a lot of time to Forza Horizon 6.
Of course. Well, you're Forza Belvedere for crying out loud. So,
yeah. But I think I played a couple other games that came to Game Pass. Played a little bit of Hades too. Although I already bought that on Steam a while back, so playing it in Game Pass is awesome as well. Trying to get my playthroughs aligned, so get the achievements for stuff I already did on the Steam version. But other than that, there was another one that's like a dice game or something like that, a billion or something. I forget what it's called, but played that and it's got a lot of zero achievements. So I've been unlocking a lot of stuff, not getting many points for it, but having fun with it. Still getting the hang of beating the bosses and things like that. But man, it's an exciting time. A week from now we would have gone through pretty much all the showcases and stuff, but just really getting excited for what's coming later this week and Sunday. So man, it's going to be an awesome podcast tonight or today, talking about some of the those topics. So can't wait to do this.
Well, look, there are a couple of prerequisites that I want to kind of just put out there immediately. And panel, of course, Forza Belvedere and chat. What I ultimately want to start off by saying is the first thing that we are not going to do is throw any content creators, industry personalities, or journalists under any buses. The last thing that we want to do here at Double Barrel Gaming is get anybody put into the crosshairs for our opinion being different than some of the people out there. They are entitled to their opinions, though most of them, I will tell you right now, I 1,000% disagree. And the only names that we will be naming are the articles that we are using for context in this particular conversation, Forza Belvedere and chat. Now, what I want to start off with is Tom Henderson. Now, Tom, if you did not know, and let's bring up Tom's tweet over here. We have it right here in front of me. Who is this mythical man, Tom Henderson? Well, he's the owner and operator of Insider Gaming IQ, or IG, I should say. And I like Tom. I've never met him. Again, I hope that changes. Maybe he's going to be in LA. Maybe he won't be. But I like his work. But I don't always agree with everything Tom says. And I would imagine that Tom probably doesn't agree with maybe a lot of my opinions, because my opinions are of an Xbox fan, a paying customer who thinks that his opinion matters. And I also, before we get into what Tom had to say, and I'll read you what I had to say, is something I think is a glaring problem, Fuzzy, with these personalities on the socials. And again, no names here, folks, because we're not trying to get any smoke or we're not trying to give it. I'm simply now levying my opinion. And if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. I checked out the Gaming Circle podcast where Lucius Augustus, who I have a ridiculous amount of respect for, came on and started naming names. Now, listen, it's not something I normally do, but he named a name that got a couple of people upset, where Paris Lily came on and they had a pretty damn good conversation. I've already talked to Kay on it. He's making a separate video of that segment. I really want this community to check it out because it was a really great conversation. But listening to Everborn, Kay Asante, Lucius, and even Paris, I came away with some thoughts, which I'm going to put out there right now. Now, as it's very known, we have been recognized by Obsidian, by Bethesda, and by Xbox. And every now and again, we are sent game codes to review a particular game. Not as hush money, not as trying to buy us out. We are given an opportunity to review games, Fuzzy. And we were given the code for Kiln, which I played about 4 hours. Not for me. Personally, it's not the game I would have put out by Double Fine. I would have put out Psychonauts 3 or remade the original. But they made the game. It was a small team. And, well, it's out there. Did I hate it? No. Did I love it? I did not. It's a MOBA. I don't really play those types of games. But I did give it the old college effort, and I publicly thanked Microsoft for it. I was also given an early, 10 days early access to the game on your screen, and I gave it solid 10 out of 10, as it deserved. And, of course, I'm always transparent when I get games. I put it out there that I got the game. I do my review. And if you don't like my review, that's fine. But I always let people know where I'm coming from. I want to say this right now, and this is not for any one particular personality on the socials, but there is a disjointed ideology with some of these personalities trying to put out there that a paying customer doesn't have the rights to have an opinion on Xbox being better or doing better. And I'm going to tell you straight up to your face, you're wrong. Okay? Because a lot of these content creators get almost everything from one studio or another. And what I don't know about you, but I can tell you about me, how much money I've spent in the last 2 weeks on Xbox, and it's over $200. I bought James Bond. I bought Lego Batman. I bought a bunch of smaller titles, right, on Xbox. Not everything else I bought outside of that. So I'm allowed to have an opinion that says I don't like Microsoft putting their logos, and when they have a show, it should be their logos and their logos only. And if that is fanboying, then so be it, Fuzzy. Okay? Because there were a couple of instances that I will make this into a video where I'm going to show where if you look at how PlayStation markets Xbox games, it's a PlayStation logo that you think that this game is exclusive to PlayStation. They did it with Halo. They did it with Fable. And they will do it with every single other game. Now, there are people that actually champion that shit. And this is, again, maybe I'm ranting a little bit here, and I don't mean to do that. But I have to say that I am honestly sick and tired of some of these content creators and these personalities that are on the socials. And these are gaming personalities who've been in the business for years, telling me or telling the Xbox community, how dare you want Xbox to compete? How dare you want them to be a better brand? Well, I pay for most of my shit. So don't tell me how I should feel as a customer. I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. So I want to bring in Tom Henderson's, who responded to Asha Sharma, who really caught wind of the real negative feedback from the Matt Booty interview. And Asha simply said Seeing the feedback on logos, it was a miss, and I own it. We are talking about how we adjust for future Xbox shows. And I'm going to read you verbatim of what Tom had to say. Tom Henderson goes on to say, can't help but feel history is repeating itself here with new leadership, trying to cater to a small online community to make them feel good at the detriment of actual business. What's going to happen is they will revert, see it makes no difference to console sales, then revert back to the OG strategy a year or two after Helix's launch, because they want to be a multi-platform publisher and don't care where their games sell. Well, I disagree 1,000%. And where, again, this is what is strikingly odd to me, Fuzzy. What instance is he referring to listening to the Xbox fan, and somehow that has been backfired for Xbox? Did any of us go out and say, yes, put all of your IPs on PlayStation and Nintendo? Did anyone ask for that on the Xbox community? I don't think any of us did, right? Did anyone ask us to have mismessaging for what seems like a decade with not knowing what the left hand is doing, so the right hand is doing something totally different? Did we ask for that? Did we ask for Xbox to basically make their consoles non-existent in the games community to the point where nobody wants to buy them? Is that the Xbox fans' fault? I would say no. Look, I continue to say this, chat and Fuzzy, and I want to be clear here. There is nothing that Xbox did before this new leadership outside of a few things that worked. Because if all of what Phil, Sarah, and the team were doing about Xbox everywhere and putting games here, there, and everywhere, and this is an Xbox, if that strategy would have worked, we would not see new leadership. New leadership was clearly brought in because what they were doing wasn't working. Now, again, I know I'm a little bit all over the place over here, and that's fine, but I do want to bring you in, Fuzzy, and get your hot take on this, because it's not just Tom, and it's not just some other personalities that we won't name, because, again, we're not about that smoke, and I'm certainly not about to put anybody in the crosshairs because of my opinion. But there are a lot of people out there that just don't like the idea that Xbox will make some changes that are for the fan base. And I 1,000% disagree with that. I think you absolutely have to listen to your fan base. And I'm not talking about the trolls or the extremists, but there has to be something where you want to compete. And I really want to, and I know people are going to boo me for this, but this is very sports analogy-like. Like, pick your favorite team. I don't care who it is. Mine is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I called for Tomlin's job last year, and he ultimately stepped down. And I was very okay with that. Not because I didn't appreciate what he did. I did not like what he was doing. And he's been doing the same shit year after year after year. So when it's not working, coach changes are made. Well, that's exactly what happened at Xbox. And I will say it again. You can't have new coaching doing the same old shit. And that's not what they're going to do. And that's what Xbox needs to do. If Xbox wants to, quote, bring back Xbox, they can do nothing of what they did prior, because that's just not going to work. You want bite? You make games exclusive. You want people to buy your hardware? You make a reason for people to want to buy your hardware. Selling your stuff everywhere and putting logos at the end of a trailer at an Xbox game showcase, it, to me, is absolutely insane. Just keep banging your head against the wall and hope for a change. It's just not going to happen. And you know what? Listen, you can say what you want about Asha, and again, the reality is this. You read her words exactly, this show is going to have all the logos. It's going to have all the logos. That has not changed. I think that is a mistake. They could have fixed it. They're not going to. Future shows, whatever that's going to look like. But I don't understand how there are people in this industry that have been in this industry for decades somehow are okay with Xbox being the third place little brother. You want Xbox, an Xbox player, Fuzzy, wants a strong console, a strong platform, not because I'm looking to point the finger at a PlayStation person and say, ha, you're not playing this game. I don't do that. And I don't think a lot of people in this chat do that. I think you want a strong Xbox because you want an Xbox that competes. What's wrong with that? That's the same thing as wanting your favorite team to compete. Is that being a fanboy because you want your favorite team or platform to be strong? I don't think that there is. And I think a lot of people in this industry that have been here for years that are suggesting that are straight up wrong. But I want to get your thoughts on this, Fuzzy.
I like using automotive analogies, and there's going to be a couple of tech analogies I put in there as well. I remember being in the auto industry as far as the only time from a corporate level. Now, it may be different if you're an assembly line worker or something like that, but if you're in the design, marketing, or any of the higher level positions when it comes to particular program management or lineup, phasing in or out type of things, you're not driving a competitor's vehicle to work. You're not touching a competitor's vehicle and have it be a known thing unless you're high up on the design team and the company is purchasing the competing vehicle to use as a benchmark against whatever updates they're doing to their current vehicle or the next iteration of that vehicle. So you're not seeing anybody in the corporate aspect of things driving a Chevy to a Ford office and vice versa.
Right.
And it's not that you're fired for doing so, but you kind of already know that it's not going to be, it'll definitely be frowned upon. Let's just say that. And will it ultimately lead to you either quitting or being fired? Sure. Because they're going to be like, well, you have the employee discount for this product. Why would you ever look at the other product? R&D and other teams look at the other product to, benchmark it and so forth. But it's not that they're trying to take away free will, but it's like, this is the place that's, filling your pockets and signing your check. Yes, you're doing hours of work for that, but it's kind of an understood. You don't crap where you lay kind of thing. And if we just want to look at the tech world, has anybody ever seen Apple ever mention Android or any other competing brand?
Not even once.
Shows? I'm just curious, like, how hard is it to look at some of the other tech companies that are in the spaces about that? Now, if you're a multi-supplier, like an NVIDIA, like an AMD, sure, you're going to mention several competitors of each other that you supply, but AMD is not going to talk about Intel unless they're comparing it as a benchmark. And more times than not, the only time they'll bring themselves to do that is when they have a product that outdoes theirs by a certain percentage, twofold, or however many X times it outperforms that competing product. They're not going to be like, hey, we're almost as good, but we're cheaper. I mean, sometimes AMD had that approach early in its history when it came to Intel. But more recently, like I would say ever since the Ryzen chipsets were about, they were all about trying to take that throne from Intel. And you see where Intel is. And it wasn't for the lack of Intel making a great product. It's just that they got fat and happy to the point where they didn't innovate as frequently And then when they saw AMD is starting to compete or catch up, they rushed things to market that didn't necessarily meet their previous quality levels. So that was their downfall. And we'll look back at it eventually where maybe Intel makes a comeback. But one of the key things was Intel never talked about AMD. It was as if they didn't exist in their world. Apple never talks about any other competing brand as if they don't exist in the world. Even Google, when you go and look at a Google I/O, they focus on the Pixel phone. Sure, Samsung gets those features, but their main priority to talk about is Pixel or anything that they make themselves. And they'll say in like small print, or they'll say, oh, and these features are coming to the Samsung phone, because Samsung is paying them to say that on stage. Outside of that, they're going to try to convince you to buy that Pixel. I don't understand why Xbox. Well, all right. I won't say I don't understand. I totally understand why there's this want to have the other logos on the end of a showcase, because the people that made that decision are trying to focus on moving units. But there's ways you can go about doing that. You don't have to do it at your showcase that's supposed to be centered around your show.
Yep.
Especially when you have other partnered showcases throughout the year. You have the IGN showcase, or the one that you partner with IGN. Then you have other partnered showcases where you partner with either Sega or EA or whomever. That's where you want to show the multiple logos, because it makes sense. It's like, if they're paying you to be on your stage, then by all means, if their terms are to show the logos, do so. But I would also go to bat and say, if that's the case, make sure you push the issue with those same publishers, or twist their arm and saying, I want to see you start making those same demands of Sony or the same demands of Nintendo. Why aren't they showing other logos at any of their showcases, even if it is a partnered showcase? That's something that the Xbox team or the executives need to start doing to some of their publishers. Not to browbeat them or anything along those lines, but if you want us to show your logo or show the logo for our competing brands, then I better see my logos on those other competing platform showcases moving forward. Otherwise, we're going to have problems. But that's something that needs to change in how they work with these teams. I get it. The focus being moving units. There's other ways to move units. And one of the things that they've stopped doing is packaging games, which I know that's not a sale of a game, but it does count as a sale of a game. And it also counts as a sale of hardware, which also gives you a foot in the door to that household that you may not have had. That was why I used to talk about, maybe the Series S needs to be pushed as that secondary console, much like the Switch is. Or maybe the household just needs to look at a Switch for on the go and the S as their, in front of the TV console, and make that push for the PS4 and the Xbox One owners that's what you should probably upgrade to, kind of thing. But I just don't understand why. I mean, I get it. If the game is going to PlayStation, you're worried about the questions. Well, when is this coming to PlayStation? Look on PlayStation's site. PlayStation will have that information.
Yep.
Just like when PlayStation shows a third-party title, they don't show any other competing, platform listings. But if you go to those competing platforms, you'll see that you can pre-order that game, or you'll see the trailer for that game on their YouTube channel. That's how it's worked for everybody else under the sun all these years. Xbox shouldn't be treated any differently. Look, if your preferred platform is PlayStation, look on PlayStation's site. Ask PlayStation when it's coming to PlayStation. Right now, it's only on Xbox. But when it comes to PlayStation, I'm pretty sure PlayStation will tell you. Or when it comes to Nintendo, I'm pretty sure Nintendo will tell you. And that's not, I doubt anybody that's serious about buying the game is going to be turned off by having to go to the platform in which they purchase the device. That only makes sense. Now, I'm pretty sure there'll be fanboys that'll say otherwise, where, I have a PlayStation, but I want to play Forza Horizon 6. When is it coming? It's pre-orderable on your PlayStation store. Why are you asking Xbox? You bought the PlayStation. You want the game. It's on PlayStation Store. Read. It's not that hard. But I'm gotten off on a tangent, but like honestly, the logo gate or whatever you want to call it, it just goes to show as much change as we've seen over these past couple of months, some things still stay the same. And the tone deafness, which yeah, I get it. Why do us that are, fans of the brand that also have X amount of dollars invested in the brand get to say whatever to the brand? It's called, well, one, freedom of speech, but two, if you're invested in a brand, do you always just shut your mouth and accept whatever they give you? Like, I'm pretty sure you either speak with your wallet or you may put, your thoughts on a review. You get crap from Amazon and it's crap. Not everybody does a review, but I'm pretty sure there's a good number of us that'll say, yeah, this was crap. It was busted out of the box, or it didn't fit like described, or whatever the case may be, and you return it. Some people, if you get a lemon of a car, are you just going to suck it up and drive that lemon of a car until you can trade it or sell it or whatever? I guess there's some people that are willing to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every month or whatever on a car that's a problem. But I would say if there's something that you've invested in and you want to see it either perform better or work as advertise or work in a way where your investment doesn't necessarily go away down the road. Because bear in mind, for those that are invested in the ecosystem, I think some of our biggest fears is that if we just shut up about this whole logo gate and they keep on going down this path of showing where you can get the game, except for, everywhere except for on their primary platform as the place to get it, what happens when they realize, well, we're selling more games everywhere else except for this, ecosystem? Why don't we just, slowly sunset the console or slowly sunset, this cloud feature and so forth, because it's not paying the, it's not the investment that's there isn't enough to keep the lights on for that product. That's the fear. Sure, we could always keep our old consoles, but there's a good bit of us that some trade in those consoles for the next generation console. Or some of us have already put those in boxes or put them in a display where they're maybe collecting dust or just there for decoration. I'm not turning on my PS4 or my PS3. I'm not turning on my Xbox One or my Xbox One X. My series console and my PS5 are the only consoles I'm going back to. Anything before that, I'm not really looking to, dig out of the crates or anything like that. So I would rather have it where there's continue, backwards compatibility and forwards compatibility continues to be a thing. And I don't have to worry about, even though it may be a 15-year-old game, I don't want to have to worry about what I need to access it because, well, I got rid of my Xbox One or my Xbox One doesn't function anymore. They don't sell the parts to get it to work anymore. What do I do now? I would rather them focus on keeping their own livelihood, their own platform breathing in a way that makes sense moving forward. And I'm pretty sure somebody will be like, well, the numbers show when they did this before. I think the key thing that people are missing is if you look at the Xbox One, they had the games at the beginning of the gen, and then it kind of fell off a cliff because they didn't have that investment putting towards games for the remaining part of the generation until they, started buying studios. But a lot of those games didn't come out until this generation. So there was that whole thing of Xbox doesn't have any games, the whole, missed opportunity that they had at launch. That made it an uphill battle from there on out. So they never really had the games and the hardware all at the same time, other than the launch, which, the previous leadership kind of flubbed. So right now we would like to see the current leadership not make a similar mistake of, hey, play or share games everywhere, but also ignore your primary source or your primary part of the platform, which is your own ecosystem or console. So that's the thing that a lot of us are trying to push back on. And it just feels like whether the executives in the ivory tower or, other members within the community see things differently, I don't know, but it just feels like there's a lot of tone deafness going on around there. And it is what it is. But hopefully they make some changes. It's a shame that they don't make the changes for this showcase, but they probably look at it as, oh, well, the extra cost of editing and time and blah, blah, blah. It would do so much for the core. Well, another thing I want to make mention, I'm rambling here.
Please, it's a conversational podcast, brother. Go crazy.
The core, and this is a misconception that a lot of people, whether you're in business or not, yes, the core are usually less than 10%. So let's start with even numbers, because a lot of places it might be as low as 5 or 6%. But let's just start with even numbers. Your core is 10%. Do you know that core is usually responsible for over 30% of your revenue? So that core is the ones that make up for the another 20% of the people that you're trying to appeal to. Now, it's great that you want to appeal to others, and that might work. But if they're, those other 30% that you're trying to reach only account for 10% more revenue, at the spite of your current core that are spending the 30% or giving you that 30% revenue, you lose them. You just traded more, what is the more AOV, or more dollars, or average per dollar, or average per order from those core than you would from the other person. The other person's buying a $70 game twice a year. The core is buying a $70 game almost every month, or every other month at the least. It adds up to the point where the core sometimes is worth listening to for the fact that once they go, so does a lot of your revenue. And my closest example in the automotive industry, the people that go for V8s, except for when there's pent up demand, like if a car goes away and then comes back like the Camaro did and like the Challenger did, it's a little bit of a different story those first couple of years. But afterwards, the V8 owners are typically less than like 20% of the purchases. A lot of the time, the V6 owners, or even the 4-cylinder, if that's an option, are your brunt, or the majority of your sales. But those are cheaper cars. They're less likely to get anything else from you other than an oil change and maybe some floor mats. The guy with the V8 is getting the oil changes more frequently because they want to keep it and maintain it. They're more likely to get the aftermarket wheels. They're more likely to get tires more frequently because they're using the car and doing burnouts and having to cost that. Now, they might not get the tires from you, but they are purchasing things along those lines. They're more likely to purchase if you offer a performance upgrade from factory, they're more likely to do that because it's under warranty. Some will still go aftermarket as well, but that core is more likely to spend more dollars per person. So that $30,000 car, now they've already spent $50,000 with you. The other person that bought the $20,000 car, you're lucky if you get another $1,000 out of them. That's where the differences is with the core versus the masses. The core usually winds up making a bigger chunk of your revenue, even though they're a smaller bunch. And that's the thing that it boggles my mind why it's not taken more seriously, because people want to dismiss the cores. Well, it's only 10%, but let's look at the numbers. Let's look at how many of that casual is buying a year versus the core buying a year. It's a little bit different story. And when you start looking at those numbers, it's almost a split. Like for every core member you lose as a fan, you're going to need 10 or more of the casuals to make up for it. And even then, they might not make up the overall dollars spent. But that's just car business and other import stuff made and manufactured overseas and imported for cheap over in the States. At least that's what I can draw from. But, this logo gate, let it, hopefully after the showcase, it dies down and they don't do this, nonsense anymore. But we'll see. We'll see where they go from here moving forward.
Before we move on to the next topic, I want to bring in a rant from Special Nick from this past weekend's podcast they had over at Day One, formerly known as Xbox Era. And he is 1000% spot on. I wish Nick was here. And again, if you see him in the chat, if you're listening, brother, this one's for you. Let me pause this footage and let me bring in this Day One conversation. Now, I don't need to hide us because I want you to hear what he has to say. You can see him just fine, but let me get into my screen share over here and bring this up, because this is worthy. Where are you? For the love of Joe. Okay, here it is. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to press play ladies and gentlemen, I want you to check this out.
I've seen I don't like.
Oh, hold on a sec. Before I start it, there's a lot of cursing. So if you're working somewhere or just be ready. There's some cursing here from Special Nick, and I appreciate the banter. So just a small warning. Here we go.
I've seen I don't like when a lot of big name people denigrate fans of the platform. Like I don't like it that Xbox fans are just crybabies. That's how you can tell they're the biggest fanboys. I'm sorry, but go fuck yourself with that, because the fact that you don't like Xbox and want it to die is irrelevant to the discussion of how an Xbox fan feels.
Yep.
Because if this was PlayStation or Nintendo in this situation, don't act like you wouldn't be fucking crying into your pillows and fucking like ready to be, you'd have to be talked off the ledge. So just shut the fuck up with that for a second. I've seen.
So I'm going to add this back to the stage and put us over here. Okay, so again, shout out to Special Nick for dropping a bunch of F-bombs, but being not only pointed, but speaking the truth. There is something to be said about a paying customer having an opinion about the brand that they're investing in. And there is something to be said about a plan that failed miserably for Xbox. 15 games went over, Fuzzy, and only 3 of them sold over 1 million. Now, of course, the standout is Forza Horizon 5 at over 6 million, I would imagine by now. That's something to kind of hang your hat on. But the closest one after that, I think, was Sea of Thieves, and that was 3.8 million copies. And then after that, and again, you know, obviously things have changed in the last couple of months. Maybe they've gotten sold a little bit more. But the closest one to that was 1.2 million for the remake of Oblivion. And look, again, I know it may not be a big deal for a lot of people with the whole logo gate. But I have said this, and I think a lot of people agree with this sentiment. Xbox cannot continue to look weak and get on their knees as they have with a plan that failed for them miserably. I mean, call me a lunatic, but what they did failed. There is new leadership that has made incredible strides to make Xbox a relevant brand that people are not only happy to say that they play their games on, but potentially get new customers. We're going to get into a second topic of the show where we have actual numbers that dictate that, yes, since Asha has taken over, since she has enacted this new "We Are Xbox," bringing back Xbox, right? The attitude era of the Xbox 360, which is where I think they need to go, followed with some actual real marketing and advertising, like, I don't know, a real company would do. Yeah, you might get people to invest in the brand. How you're not going to continue to get people to invest in your brand, i.e., sell your hardware, is continually put everyone's logo on everything. I just don't think that works, ladies and gentlemen. And I think the numbers prove that I am right. And again, this is just a small thing. I absolutely 1,000% agree with Nick saying that there are a subset of people that want Xbox to either not exist or be that, redheaded stepchild of the industry. They don't want a strong Xbox. And like Everborn Saga said on the Gaming Circle podcast, the same people, the same group of, industry personalities that stay unnamed on this program have no problem with PlayStation and Nintendo logos really shouldn't ultimately have a problem if Xbox decides to protect this house and take them out. So what's the difference, Fuzzy? I don't understand. So let me paint the picture here for you folks. This group of people, journos, content creators, industry personalities, have zero in problems with the logos in an Xbox games showcase and are accusing Xbox gamers of caring too much about their own platform, but have a problem with Asha responding and saying, hey, I messed up. We're going to talk about this. You see where I'm going with this, Fuzzy? Like it's the double standard that Xbox has always been held to. PlayStation does something, second coming. Nintendo does something egregious, don't worry about it. It's Nintendo. It's what they do. Xbox, how dare you? You see what I'm saying? And when I break it down like that, it makes even more sense. Anything you want to add to my latest rant, and we'll move on to topic number 2.
No, I kind of agree with some of the sentiment I've seen in the chat that that certain subset might be thinking in their best interest as far as whether it's review copies or I guess supposedly being on the good side of things with the brand to continue doing so, which I get it. But yeah, I like the analogy that, like, once again, because I'm a car guy, the analogy that was on Iron Lord's podcast this past Sunday between Attic and Cog, when it's like, would you listen to somebody talking about a car that doesn't own that car?
There you go.
Oh, Fords are crap. Do you have a Ford? No, but I hear they're crap. Oh, you hear they're crap. You haven't driven one. You never owned one. You just hear from some other person that they're crap. So you're parroting that they're crap. And it kind of feels like it's along those kinds of lines when it's like, well, they should have the logos. Well, why doesn't PlayStation have the logos? Well, you have to ask PlayStation. Well, I'm asking Xbox not to have the logos. You could go if logos being, competing logos are a thing that you're okay with, then go ask PlayStation to do it. Go ask Nintendo to do it. Oh, you won't do it because they'll laugh at you or they won't respond to you at all? Oh, I see.
Or maybe they'll get on the shit list and not get a game code or 3.
Exactly. So
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's I get how some people might see it as parasocial, blah, 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 but it's like they're on that same side of they're on the same coin, just on the opposite side. So I don't want to hear nothing from them. And I'll probably see some of these people face to face Sunday or throughout the week. I will not change my tone. So we'll see. But in any event, that's all I have on it. They don't need to have the logos for the simple fact that it's their show, their anniversary show. Although there will be an anniversary showcase probably November 15th as well. But this is your mainline show that's geared for your platform. It's not geared for everyone. Because otherwise, don't call it the Xbox Showcase. Just call it the E3 Showcase. Stop playing games. If you want to be this third-party platform or publisher, stop calling it the Xbox Showcase. Call it the Everything Showcase or call it E3 and be done with it. So that's my last bit on it.
No, I mean, it's a great point. I think the lack of identity that Xbox has had in the last 2 or 3 years is not only very apparent, but a problem. And I will continue to bang the drum of there being changes made, massive changes made because what they did prior failed. That's it. You can say whatever you want about logos. You can say whatever you want about your opinion. That's fine. You're not moving me off this hill that what they didn't work. Because if it would have worked, how this whole thing would have went down is Phil would have been in the position until they launched Helix next year. he would have announced his retirement, getting another console under the belt, and he would have been succeeded by Sarah Bond, as we all thought he would. But certain things were done that didn't work, that set the platform back years. And now they can't give these consoles away. And how do you expect you to make the consoles relevant? Is it because you can find something on that console that you might not be able to find on a PlayStation? Well, that would be that, for at least for me, and I'm no business tycoon, that is where you start. You have content that is available on a box that is not available on another box. And you see that. I mean, listen, what we're asking is business 101. And I don't think asking for a strong Xbox to kind of show up and show out without having to sell other people's hardware for them is smart. And again, listen, there's going to be somebody that's going to clip this. There's going to be somebody that disagrees, that think that logos are no big deal. Well, I do. And that's the end of the story. I think if you're trying to better your platform, selling someone else's is probably not the smartest move, in my humble opinion. But that's going to do it for this topic. Let me catch up on Super Chats here, and then we're going to get into how up until Friday, Xbox was on a positive trajectory and the numbers prove it. Now, have they fallen off a cliff? I don't think so. But, obviously what happened on Friday wasn't the greatest of news. You had Matt Booty saying, hey, man, don't worry, PlayStation and Nintendo fans, we got you covered. Right? And they also announced that Fable was getting delayed. Now, the Fable delay, like I said in the opening, I don't really care. There are so many games. Let that game have its own space. That's perfectly fine. But Friday, this past Friday, at least since Asha has taken over, which was late February, probably one of their worst Fridays in a very, very long time. And whether or not it hurts the brand, whether it sours you as a gamer, I'm still excited for Sunday because I'm going to be ass in seat. I'm very, very thankful to be a part of FanFest. I'm very thankful to have the money to get out there because it's not a cheap investment. You're spending at least $2,000 to get out there, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever wanted to know how much you got to put away, it's probably around $2,000 between flights, obviously lodging, and you're going to be out there for 4 or 5 days. You got to eat. So when you consider all of that, it's probably around $2,000, and Microsoft ain't paying for none of that. I'm paying for that. So yeah, obviously it's important for me to be there because I have a YouTube channel, and there are a lot of people in this chat that appreciate what we bring to the table, and we will be bringing more content we've ever done before. But once again, let's read these super chats. Okay, the first one of the day comes the way of Highlanders Grim. First of all, brother, great to see you here. He doesn't even say anything, so great to see you here, brother. He also has been a channel member for a whopping 17 months. That's very kind of you, brother. We super appreciate the generosity. Thanks so much for hanging out. Aris_EMS has done it once again, ladies and gentlemen. He has gifted 5 Double Barrel Gaming memberships. That is very expensive, and we do greatly appreciate your generosity, as you've done so many times before, Aris. Thank you so much for that. Left the Hero drops a very generous $10 super chat. He goes on to say, why hide where a game is going? It's disingenuous and wrong. P.S. And I guess he meant PlayStation, Nintendo, do it. Yes. However, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Xbox is better for doing what's right. Business strategy or not, it's wrong. Listen, left the Hero, brother. Let me just say, I hear you. I hear you. But you see, that sentiment is the problem. PlayStation and Nintendo does it. It's okay. But Xbox is somehow better. Xbox is in 4th place if you consider Steam a platform, the biggest platform in gaming. They can't move hardware to save their lives. How do you turn this around? Well, how I would do it, and this would be, again, this is completely off the cuff, and I heard Kay Asante make mention of this. I've heard Everborn talk about this. We've talked about it. You want an easy layup? You want an easy W? You cancel Halo Combat Evolved on PlayStation. That's it. And you might be saying, well, boom, they're going to lose money. Well, I have it on some insider information that it's a rumor, right? Nothing's been confirmed, that the port probably cost them about $600K. Now, that's $600,000. For me, that's ridiculous. For Microsoft, you know, I like to take this just in your mind, envision a scale, right? $600K, the bag of money. Right now, it's down to the floor. Let's just take what you get with that $600K for Halo. For Master Chief going to PlayStation, let's start piling up the bricks. Brand damage, biggest brick. How much is brand damage worth to you? That's what is it 600K? Is it 600 million? Is it 600 billion? I don't know. You tell me what your number is for brand damage. Because once that's crossed, that's it. Halo's on PlayStation. I would cancel that immediately. And I would do it with the idea that putting that IP on a PlayStation not only is brand damage, but once that line is crossed, Halo's on PlayStation. That's it. Why is that a good idea? Because we want everybody to play everything. Not everyone can afford a console. You know what? You're right. Not everybody can afford a console. But you know what? If you were coming over to next generation because of Grand Theft Auto and Modern Warfare 4, who has the cheapest console? Just out of curiosity. Oh, that's right. At $400, $399, as a matter of fact, you get a Series S. Is there, if you were an old school, I don't know, Xbox 360 player that went to PlayStation because of price, would you ultimately maybe come back to Xbox because you don't want to spend $650 plus tax on a PlayStation 5 Slim to be able to play the next Halo, Gears, Forza? No, you would invest in a console that's affordable. And if the new people in charge of Xbox have any sense whatsoever, and I'm not insulting anybody because these are people with degrees. I'm just a knucklehead podcaster who is a retiree. But if they have any sense, they're trying to figure out how to get consoles into store shelves and potentially either pack in a game or make their console $50, literally saying you will buy an Xbox because it's cheap. I'm just saying that, you know, that's my so I hear you, and left to hero, I appreciate the generosity and you even taking the time to comment. But you see, what you're suggesting is ultimately the crux of the problem. Well, Sony does it. It's all right. Nintendo, listen, they walk to their own drum. It's fine. Xbox, how dare you? It's disingenuous. I have to disagree, brother. I have to wholeheartedly disagree. That sentiment right there is why Xbox is in fourth place. Because everyone else can do whatever they want, and then when it's Xbox, you get the hand slap. I disagree, brother. I really do. It's me, the broke boy, drops a very generous. He drops two. I think. First the first $5 super chat. He goes on to say, honestly, I don't care about the logo thing, but best compromise is only Xbox logos on a game showcase, then all platforms on Xbox Wire announcement. I mean, there's ways to do it. I don't think that. Listen, I saw again. I'm not doing the names thing here, folks. I'm not trying to like embarrass anybody. I saw, like gaming personalities that actually came out and said well, if they're, they shouldn't hide logos to make the fanboys feel better. I'm not asking you to hide logos. Let me just say this. First of all, no game should be going over there. I'm sorry. Like, you want me to really be a fanboy. I think after the 15 games that went over there failed, they need to figure it out, because they're going to keep porting these games. Let me just ask this, Fuzzy, and this is not a topic. What if Halo goes over there and sells 700,000 copies and no one gives a shit, right? What is the brand damage that they're going to make on the 700K games that are sold worth the brand damage? Because I'm going to say that it's not.
No.
Right? How many people, what happens if Fable comes out next February and sells as much as Starfield? Is that going to be an embarrassment? Is that going to be a disgrace? Is the brand damage of you putting a legacy tentpole title on your rival that consistently spits in your face and you open your mouth and ask for more, is it worth it? I'm going to say that it's not, but just out of curiosity, answer my question if you wouldn't mind, Forza.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it, because that's the uphill battle that they're facing now. Doing more damage is just going to make that hill even taller. So I'm pretty sure they're calculating it based on projected sales and such. But like the big thing is, I know a lot of people will say, oh, 600,000 copies is nothing to sneeze at when it came to Gears of War Reloaded. But if the internal projection was to sell 2 to 3 million copies on that platform, after you sold 5, now we're well on its way to 6 million copies of what you consider a lesser title. Like, do not mistake this. In the halls of Xbox, they consider Forza Horizon a lesser title than both Halo and Gears. Yes, yep. I can understand from a history standpoint, but it outpaced the numbers that they expected to sell over there, and then the one they were expecting to sell over there didn't. That's the type of damage that, like, okay, if it's a lesser title and Forza is now going to be always on that platform, have at it. But if you already got slapped in the face based on your projections with Gears of War and it underperformed majorly, don't put any more over there. Obviously, it's not their taste. That should be an internal lesson learned for future reference, that Gears of War doesn't go over. And if Gears of War, being that it's a third-person shooter and third-person games tend to do better on that platform over there, and first-person shooters, except for the big ones like Call of Duty, don't really do well over there because their own Killzone didn't do well, why are you putting Halo over there? Killzone was meant to kill Halo, and it killed itself. I don't know what else to tell you. That should give you all the metrics that you need to know that putting Halo is not worth your time, because when they put their own version of it on there, it didn't sell. So why would you take what is your legacy title, your pretty much your identity, and put it on that competing brand? Now, for comedy's sake, I get the humor or the irony in Activision owning Crash Bandicoot, which used to be a PlayStation icon, but that was because they kind of let it go and they didn't want to, pay to keep it or whatever it was back when Activision acquired it years ago. So now Xbox has one of their former icons, but are they going to put Astrobot somewhere else? Like, putting Halo on PlayStation, to me right now, at least in the immediate time, is like putting Astrobot on Xbox. And I guarantee you PlayStation's not going to do that, for the fact that they won't even put it on PC. Right. So just saying, I don't know. I think it's a mistake. I think it is brand damage that I won't say it'll be, irreversible, but it will be enough where you're really going to have to cater to recruiting more and more fans, and then trying to recruit back some of the ones you may have lost, or some of the ones that may have, reduced their spending in your ecosystem and started spending more in Steam, because there's a lot of people I game with that Steam has become a little bit more of where more of their money is spent. So to avoid that type of pattern, they might want to just look at the overall and see what makes sense. And Halo going over there to me makes the least amount of sense. But that's just me as a non-Halo fan. That just seems like something that should be common sense for them. But I don't know.
We will certainly see. Just Dave in the chat dropped a very generous $2 super chat, says Asha has time to remove those logos. You know what? I don't think they will. I know I saw somebody on the Gaming Circle podcast mention they could use AI to remove them, and I think Kay responded by saying that I don't think it would be what they were hoping for. I mean, listen. It's the show is done. It's done. The logo is going to be there. Listen, I'm still excited for the show. I know there's a new report that came out today. We're going to get into it tomorrow about there's going to be a bunch of new IPs potentially at this show, which is of course it's very exciting. I'm an Xbox, so I'm excited. They're going to get my money. But the truth of the matter is that, if you can't keep banging your head against the wall. Listen, folks, you've heard me say this 100 times. It's the definition of insanity, man. You can't do the same thing and time and time again, banging the head, and say, oh, why hasn't anything changed? Is anything going to change? Guess what? It's not going to change unless you change it. And putting their games everywhere is not going to sell consoles, folks. It's just not. And the numbers are proven. 15 games went over, and there are only 3 highlights. To me, that's an epic fail. They didn't make $60 billion. They made $667 million on those 15 titles, Fuzzy. And I don't know, and I have been unable to find out if that was, or if it was minus or plus the 30% they had to give PlayStation. So if it's 30% less of 667 million, it's even worse. So was it worth it? The answer is I probably would say no if you can't literally give these consoles away. How do you bring them back? Well, we're not going to get into it because you already know my answer. Oh, no, it's one of these. Drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, the question Asha should raise isn't how can we market this on competing platforms, but how can we weaponize this against competing platforms? I mean, that's a great point. Look, if Gears of War E-Day, which is the headliner, right? I know it's the show, but the headliner that everyone is going to want to see. And I can only tell you, what you've heard other people say about it. It's going to melt eyeballs, ladies and gentlemen. This is what the streets are talking about. If Gears of War E-Day comes out and it's on the level of what we saw from Modern Warfare 4, the reveal last Thursday, and everybody is like, yo, the coalition cooked. What if that is the game that gets you, PlayStation player, to buy an Xbox? I don't know. I mean, there's going to be people say, well, I would never buy an Xbox. I'll just wait for console, for my PlayStation. Oh, okay. But that's one of those instances. I mean, listen, we all knew Forza Horizon 6 was going to be a big game, and it's broken every record before it. Could you imagine if this was originally not announced for PlayStation, and then we had all of this conversation about, well, bringing back Xbox and, the Attitude Era and, we are Xbox and all those other, shenanigans that they've been selling for the last 90 days. Could you imagine if there was even a thought or a theory that this game in front of you right now decided that, you know what? We're going to sell our hardware with our IPs and we're indefinitely postponing the release of this game. Could you imagine how many people did you hear on the socials say they went out, Fuzzy? You and I talked about this privately. How many DMs did you get of, hey Fuzzy, I love your content, love the conversation you've been having. I you know what? I'm not sure what's happening with this game. I went out and bought an Xbox. A lot of people. Now, is it for me and you? Is it thousands? Like were some of these other personalities? No, it's a couple of people, right? So people would go out to buy a console for a game. Yes, yes, I know. Shockingly, even in 2026, even if it's an Xbox. I'm just saying, but let me continue. Oscar Wheat drops a very generous $2 super chat. It says Sony playing dirty, Asha play nasty, pause, LOL. I just think they have to fight fire with fire, man. I just think this kumbaya-ism that they have been just walking, skipping and joking, and everything is kumbaya and it's unicorns and rainbows all day long. You know what? Your competitor is kicking you in the balls, and you have done nothing. You've literally just said, hey, let me get another one because that felt awesome. That's what I want. I want another kick to my crotch. Thank you so much, PlayStation and Nintendo. Look, you're not winning this argument with me. I'm a be a bot. I'm proud to be a bot. And I think the only way things have changed or are going to change is if you take your toys and go home. And until they figure out how to do that, Fuzzy, and I'll let you jump in right now, it's going to be the same old Xbox. Add what you want to add, brother.
Yeah, they had a perfect opportunity to highlight one of their console features that created a little bit of a stir with social media, particularly the gaming media. I don't know if people remember when, I think it was called Darksiders War Masters Edition. Remember, PS or PlayStation had a $10 upcharge for the update, and it was a free,
as they always do, yeah,
for Xbox. That would have been a perfect time to do a "this is how we share games" kind of commercial. I don't think they need to rely on NXIL to kind of do those kind of quirky or cool commercials. They need to start doing that themselves on social media, whether it's TikTok, Twitter, whatever. Some people might say it's cringe, but it seems like that's what gains traction with the younger crowd, because I do know a few younger people that, my wife being a teacher, they're actually picking up an Xbox for kind of like what you said, for Forza Horizon 6. So it's not thousands, but it's enough that it's kind of funny that a game can actually sell a system, and they're trying to figure out, well, is it really worth getting a Series S? I'm like, well, if you're used to playing on an old PS4, yeah, I would say the Series S is a good enough upgrade. But like, they need to market what distinguishes them. If they're going to go this multi-platform route, they really need to start distinguishing or talking about what distinguishes them from the competition, like smart delivery, like quick resume, and things like that. Like, some people may not even know at this far into the generation what those things even mean. I remember a lot of people saying, oh, it's just words and marketing speak. These are things that are actually useful and make the actual platform well received or well liked amongst its users. So they need to reiterate that stuff, because people that are still on the PS4 or even on the Xbox One may have forgotten all that marketing speak and need to be reminded. But that's something I hope that they get more aggressive with as well here soon. But we'll see.
Listen, this is going to be an ongoing conversation until Xbox picks a fucking lane. That's the bottom line. Asha has done what I believe to be the best 90 days Xbox has had in the last 3 to 5 years. And it's everything that she has done. It's messaging, it's marketing, it's the conversation that she's having with staffers in the building, the ones that actually make the brand, the cogs turn, are happy about the brand. They're proud to be working for the brand. It's not just the players. It's not just the Xbots or the trolls that want to be able to point and say, oh, our game is better than you don't have it. No, that's not what this is about. This isn't about me wanting to say, oh, X player on PlayStation, you can't have what I have. If you want to compete, you have to compete. You cannot just, lollygag about it. It's business, man. But let me continue. Let's see. We have Left the Hero has been a channel member for 19 months, so thank you so much for that. Goes on to say, bring back exclusives to Xbox. This is how they fix the problem. Until they do that, don't hide where a game is going. But they're not necessarily hiding. They're just not advertising their competitor. Like I just think that it's that sentiment is I think it's just lost on the games community. And it's lost on a lot of the personalities. Oh, why shouldn't they show logos? It's going everywhere. Yeah, I get that. But if a game is coming, if I watch a state of play and I know that there's a game that I am interested in that's not Sony first party, I go to the internet and I do a search, game coming out for Xbox, and I'll get the information. Well, PlayStation players could do the same thing. If they're worried about, they're interested in Gears of War E-Day, go do a search. Well, unfortunately, not going to find anything because it was and probably is in development. I don't know if that's the case anymore. I think they understand they have a banger, and if they want to sell consoles, that's something you keep for the home team. But we'll continue. Retro Rich drops a very generous £5 super chat. It says, I'm fine with games going everywhere. Here's my problem. If they really wanted to sell consoles, subsidize the cost of it by having the price. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. If this was, 5 years ago before, Rampocalypse, they would have. I think that the Series S would probably be $200. Like right now, it'd be $200, and again, it would fly off shelves because it was cheap. Now, could the PlayStation 5 Slim get down that cheap? I don't think so. But could the S? It absolutely could. Should it be $200? It absolutely should be $200. Again, I'm not making the calls, Rich, and I think you're right. But you can't sell hardware if you're selling other people's. Meaning that, hey, PlayStation gamers, don't worry about it. We got you covered. Even though, and this is just, again, I don't want to keep beating the horse here. Right now, PlayStation is not producing their own first-party games. They have no roadmap. Everything they have coming out is smeared in controversy, right? So Fair Game, supposedly, according to Tom Henderson, has changed the names of the game. I don't think anyone's gonna even give a shit. The game did terrible in its alpha. We know that because that's been reported, right? Intergalactic. Do you see the negative from their own fan base? PS, by the way, the negativity for that game already. Game is 2 years out. That thing can't catch a win, right? So Xbox has the games. They have the roadmap. Them not taking advantage of a game like this on their platform, terrible mistake. Absolutely terrible. Oh no, it's one of these. Drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. It says Microsoft is a data-driven company. I have to ask, what WTF kind of data are they looking at by underestimating Forza and overestimating Gears of War sales on PlayStation? I got nothing. I got nothing. No, I don't know. Look, let's call a spade here, folks. The state of Xbox is not, that blame is not to be laid at the feet of former leadership in Sarah and Phil. They did what they could. They had some unattainable odds with this 30%. You got to make 30% or else. Do I think that is probably why every game is going everywhere and there's no exclusives? Probably. Can we all say that didn't work? We absolutely can, whether you want to admit it or you don't. It did not work. It did not bring people to your hardware from PlayStation, and PlayStation gamers kind of showed up a bit, right? They kind of, bought a game or three, right? But for the most part, they didn't give a flying shit because most of their audience is, and 85+% of them are playing these black hole games. They're playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex Legends, Minecraft, a few of the other games on PlayStation. They're not buying games. You know why? Because the numbers say that last year, the average gamer didn't even buy 2 games. It was 1.87. 1.87 games purchased per year. The numbers are there, folks. You can go look it up yourself. So did this big push to erode the Xbox identity to the point where it's skull and bones? Did that work? It didn't work. It failed. But we have 2 more. We're gonna get. I can't believe we're this far into the show and we haven't even talked about topic number 2. Left the Hero drops an additional very generous $10 super chat. So thank you so much for the generosity, Left the Hero. He says, championing Xbox for doing the right thing, it's wrong. Well, I think what he meant to say, and I get it. He says, championing an Xbox for doing the wrong thing. It is wrong for, I think that's what he meant. So I'm going to read it verbatim. Take it how you want it, folks. So Left the Hero says, championing Xbox for doing the right thing. It is wrong for PlayStation and Nintendo to hide it. Should they have confidence in their brand console that Xbox does, and should show all logos if a game is multi-plat. So, again, it's not about hiding logos. It's about trying to make your brand look attractive to potentially sell a incoming customer from the old generation a new console, the cheaper console, into the ecosystem. I don't necessarily think you sell a lot of consoles if you say, hey, internet, this is an Xbox game showcase, but we think more eyes matter. And those more eyes have showed up, and we have made billions of selling our games on PlayStation. Well, yes, in some instances, they were number 1 in the store. But guess why? Because Sony doesn't have anything to sell you. They don't have their own games. So, of course, there were going to be some games sold. But were they sold in a way where you were like, well, that brand damage went right over the head. We don't need that. We don't need exclusives on Xbox because we're making trillions. Again, you can just go find these numbers for yourself. I don't understand why it's okay for Xbox to advertise their competitors, and on an Xbox first-party game that's on PlayStation, do you know what Nintendo and PlayStation do? They don't even have the word Xbox on that advertising. They don't have it. It's PlayStation with the studio. Go look at Fable. That's the one that everyone was putting out there on the socials. Fable says PlayStation 5, and in the corner, a very small Playground Games logo. And they will not say Xbox. And I applaud them for that. That's their competitor. They don't want you buying this game on an Xbox, even though it's Xbox first party, Fuzzy. They want you buying the game on a PlayStation. Because why? Why would Nintendo and PlayStation do that? Because they put their fans and their reputation of their brand first and foremost before anyone. And until Xbox does that, they're going to be the fourth place, ho-hum, nobody really wants around, but they have the best IPs, they have the best roadmap, they have the best service, they have 2 pieces of hardware, they have 2 handhelds that are partnered, but none of that matters. You know why? It's the redheaded stepchild that no one gives a flying about. That's why. But you know what? It's fine. Gene Messi drops a very generous $5 super chat. Do Xbox even have to put up a fight? Sony seems to be defeating themselves. All Xbox has to do is keep putting out games. I mean, that's the other thing, right? Like, I know I'm not the only one, and I'm not a conspiracy nut by any stretch of the truth, right? But how many rakes, Fuzzy, has Sony stepped on in the last, let's just go back 60 days? How many?
I would say about 3 or 4 at least. DRM, the not public, but kind of through the third party grapevine, no more PC single player ports, price increase, the what do you call them? The adjustable pricing or variable pricing, the way it was handled. I mean, I know others do it, but it struck a chord with some of the PlayStation base that are, content creators. They didn't particularly care for it. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of other things, but yeah, their studios, the whole Bungie is good for at least 4 or 5 of those right now. And then although I know layoffs are probably coming across the board as far as the industry, I'm waiting to see what happens to Bungie ultimately, and maybe even Nixis, because if single player games aren't being ported to PC anymore, when do they get the pink slip? Same thing with Ben Studios, because really haven't heard much from them. And then they gave a stern talking to Naughty Dog for not living up to their productivity as far as for this generation. So they've had quite a few, but it gets glazed over in comparison to some of the Xbox ones. Like the logos thing, I don't think is as big as any of those other PlayStation rig steps. But then again, it depends on, I guess, what side of the fence you're on. But yeah, Sony's had a lot over these past couple of months.
No, I'm just saying that, the main crux of that question, Fuzzy, wasn't that these things happened, how big they were. The hack just happened also, right? That's another big one.
I forgot all about that one.
But you know what you didn't see? Practically hardly any media coverage. You saw some, but for the most part, you didn't see any. Now, is that because they're afraid to lose codes, or they're afraid that they're going to get their hand slapped by Papa Sony, and Nintendo will just cut you off at the toenail? Forget the ankles. They cut you right off. They fillet your toenails, right? So it's Nintendo. Don't mess with them. But no one talked about it. I mean, it was one F up after another. Rake step, rake step, rake step, rake step. Nothing. Absolutely no pushback from the games media. Nothing. You hardly heard about it. Okay, there were a couple of sites that talked about it. For the most part, it was like, well, it's Sony and they're the market leader, and it's okay. It's fine. Whatever. Right? I'm just saying, right? You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I originally wanted to make this into a video. It's unlikely I'm going to have the opportunity to. It's, first of all, the how I'd have to slice this thing to make any sense would be ridiculous. So, look, a big thank you to all the super chats, channel member chats, and gifted subs. But Fuzzy, after goddamn 90 minutes, we have to get to topic number 2. And I really did not want to do a 2-hour show because I got a lot of stuff to do. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. According to Adam Hales of WindowsCentral.com, I have his article in front of me. It says the early signs are encouraging. New data suggests Xbox is winning back gamers and rebuilding momentum. And he goes on to say this: a new YouGov data suggests Xbox is gaining momentum with improvements in buzz, satisfaction, value, and overall brand perception among gamers. Now, I do have an Ecstasy's tweet in front of us. I want to use his because I will take Adam's article and put it into the show notes. I'm probably going to make a video out of this because I think it is encouraging. But again, I do think Friday was a bit of a rake step. Asha's first rake step, and she did respond in kind which I'm very happy that she responded. Some people in the games industry say nay, but I think that's the right call, at least to have a discussion internally about what you do with your showcases moving forward. But here's what Ecstasies had to say. Asha Sharma's corporate miracle is real. The data just confirmed that Xbox is clawing back in the United States market at breakneck speeds. The new report from consultant YouGov that lists February through May 2026 shatters the pessimism that had surrounded the brand. The numbers that we're talking about prove that there is, in fact, a turnaround, Fuzzy. Let me read some bullet points here from Ecstasies in his tweet. Brand perception, buzz score, a brutal jump from just 8.5 to 20 points in 3 months. The first 90 days of Asha Sharma's tenure. He goes on to say, and this is a subtle bump up, but it's a bump up nonetheless. Customer satisfaction, and he considers this solid growth, and I would agree. The older number was 17.8. It is now 22.3. Now, is that some sort of, oh my God, Xbox is back? No, but it is an increase nonetheless by, a pinch under 5 points. He goes on to say real traction. Aggressive rise in PC and console players ready to jump into the ecosystem. And in closing, Fuzzy, he says, when Microsoft put an AI expert with no gaming experience at the helm, the community predicted Xbox's death. The reality is that her cool, direct management, willing to correct mistakes on time, was exactly the corporate cure the division needed. The numbers don't lie. And look, I'm a numbers guy, right along with you, Fuzzy. We love numbers. And what have I been saying, chat, for the last couple of weeks? First of all, I have spoken incredibly high. Some people even call me an Asha fanboy, and I'm just going with the news. Every opportunity she gets, he takes a positive step forward to a brand. And I saw somebody say this in the chat, and I don't want to call them out specifically, are asking me why I'm saying that that Xbox is in fourth place. In consoles, they're in third place, but there are only 3 consoles. So obviously, they're in the basement. When I say they're in fourth place, that is including Steam. And Steam is the biggest platform in gaming. Bigger than PlayStation, bigger than Switch. I tell you, then you can go look up the numbers yourself. Steam's platform is bigger than all 3 combined, ladies and gentlemen. The numbers are there. They prove that I'm right. So if I'm saying you take a step back and look at the industry as a whole, I'm not being facetious. Steam is number 1, PlayStation number 2, Nintendo Switch number 3. Guess who's at the bottom again? That would be Xbox. So that is where that ideology comes from. But if you're just going based on the 3 consoles, well, Xbox is in third, which is still last place. I'm just saying, I don't think that's that big of a deal, but okay. Well, they want to bring you in. Now, look, she has a lot of work left to do. And I don't think that Asha is going to rest on any of her laurels. I don't think that she's going to rest on any of her wins. I think what she says, how she presents herself at the Xbox Fan Fest that's happening in about a week from now, which we're going to be at, is going to be very telling. Like I said, if you can call it a rake step, maybe you can. Maybe it's just, you know what? Rake step is might be a little extreme for what happened on Friday. I would say it's a mishap, an Xbox mishap, if you will. Fable gets delayed, and I actually don't have a problem with that. I think it was really up against an unwinnable situation. Do you go against GTA? The answer is absolutely not. There is one singular IP that can go up against GTA, and it chose not to do that, and that is Call of Duty. Call of Duty is releasing almost a month before, and because Call of Duty is returning to Switch, well, it's returning to Nintendo for the first time since the Wii U, I think, right? It's on Steam, it's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation, and what we saw has, I mean, just go. If you don't believe me, go to Charlie Intel. Now, some people, try to say that he's a pony. I don't think so. I like Charlie Intel a lot. I don't know them personally, and I don't think they even know that I exist, and that's fine. But I've been following them for years, and they're my personal go-to for Call of Duty news. The fan base is buzzing with what we saw last Thursday. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 looks to be back. And all of the big Call of Duty content creators are saying that. Some of the biggest in the space are saying that. And they chose to launch a month before. Now, I said this earlier, it's a lunatic's bet. Sure. Someone's going to clip this and try to make fun of me. I laugh with you. I never, cower down to someone's laughter. You can point all you want. It's fine. But I actually think that if there is one game that could possibly give GTA a run for its money, like literally, it's Call of Duty, and that's because it's in two spots that are not, or two spots where GTA isn't going to be released. That's PC, which is the biggest platform in gaming, and of course, Nintendo Switch 2. So we'll see what happens. The numbers, we'll know at the end of the year whether or not I'm a lunatic or not. But Fuzzy, I want to get your thoughts on this, man. Look, I think there is, and I've been saying this for weeks, there's this buzz. There's this excitement. There's this proud papa kind of moment for a lot of Xbox players, right? Xbox, look, all you have to do is just look, again, folks, I'm all about, let's look at the big picture. What does Xbox really have going for it, right? Is it just about logos? It's not. Yes, is that a conversation that we spent damn near 90 minutes having before this one? Sure. And I do think it's relevant, but let's just look at the three platforms. Now, Xbox, yes, they are in third place in consoles, and I don't know if that changes anytime soon. But if we are looking at a brand that is on the cusp of having a breakout moment, it is Xbox. It is absolutely Xbox, because of this game in front of you, breaking numbers left, right, and center, right? But again, let's take a step back, and this, that the 3 3/4 look at the gaming industry. Xbox has the best first-party games of anyone in gaming right now. That's not even a question. That's not even going to come close to it. Now, yes, Fable got delayed, not the greatest of news, but I get it, right? All that does, if Clockwork doesn't release this year, is set up 2027, a roadmap that the other two don't have, to be ridiculous, with the potential of new hardware. They have the best, most affordable service in gaming in Game Pass, which dropped $7, right? Yes, at the cost of Call of Duty. I'm just still pissed like you, but yeah. I am happy for the people who don't have to leave the service because of that $7 that priced them out, right? So I'm excited for the core gamer. I'm very happy that that price is there and people are enjoying it. They also have two consoles that are really, really good pieces of hardware, regardless of what social media tells you. And if you are, and you got the money, they have a pair and now a third handheld that's Xbox branded that you can take your games on the go. So who really is the winner here? Well, if you support any of those platforms, you as the gamer is winner. But if there's one platform that has a lot to offer, it is Xbox.
Yeah.
But I do want to get your thoughts on the momentum that has been brought to our attention by this new survey.
Well, we've been saying it for a while now. The past couple of months have been more energetic than the past couple of years. And once again, not a slight at previous leadership. It just feels like Asha knew. Well, I wouldn't say she knew exactly what would get the community going, but she basically focused on a lot of the I would say the small things that make a difference to us, the users, like the logo stuff, as far as the startup, the dynamic background, making Xbox in capital letters, like a lot of that small stuff adds up. And I think that build up, as far as like listening to feedback from the community, which is something that we kind of missed from Phil towards the later part of things. And I understand why he kind of had to take a step back because of the parasocial aspect of some of the stuff. But for right out of the gate, she really took focus and actually started pushing back on some of the misinformation stuff that would normally just kind of fester over like a weekend period. She found a way to keep Xbox in a positive light in the news cycle, I would say almost daily. Like every week she was posting something on Monday or a random Thursday or just any day of the week. It was like, hey, this is a new feature. Hey, this is something that we're updating. We're updating the, the achievements. Yeah, it was something that was probably shelved because of other priorities prior, but she made a lot of these things happen within a short period of time. And then in a quick and effective way. She also empowered a lot of the team to do something similar, like with Jason Ronald talking about like the back compat stuff, and where some people were having issues with the 360 games. It was like something that was fixed over a weekend type of deal. So there feels like there's more energy, not just in the community, but also within the team itself. It feels like a lot of them have their step back kind of thing, as far as, or bouncing their step to some extent. So yeah, there's been a lot of positive measures that she's made since she's taken the reins of Xbox. And whether it's the occasional posts on social media from people that, may have sold their Xbox 2 years ago, now they're getting it back. I mean, it sucks for them because they sold something they already had and now they have to respend at a higher price, but it is what it is. But there's a lot of people coming back to the community. There's a lot of people that may never looked at this community that are joining the community. Like a lot of people that you'll see that, once again, something like Forza Horizon 6 made them pick up that console, or the fact that they're making a focus on the console. And, they did that price for you thing with the consoles for Xbox One owners. So there are people that are doing these upgrades. There are people that are coming back home to Xbox. There are, fans that are probably more excited now than they've been since the just 4 games kind of time frame. So there's been a lot of momentum. Whether you want to look at the logo gate thing as a break in the momentum, I see it as, I wouldn't say a crossroad, but I see it as something that's a talking point that obviously we're going to move on past, but it's something that it'll be one of those, I wouldn't say a teachable moment, but something that they learn from the community and the feedback, and we'll see where it goes from there. But aside from that, the focus is still on the games. The games are coming in the showcases. They had an excellent dev direct earlier this year. They had an excellent partner direct when it came to Stranger Than Heaven. They're going to probably do more of those where you're going to see something for the Tokyo Game Show. Maybe we see OD there, or maybe OD makes an appearance at the Game Awards or something. They're going to more than likely make an appearance and have something to show at Gamescom, which I don't know if we'll see hardware at the June showcase, but Gamescom is typically where they show hardware as far as controllers and things like that. So those leaked controllers, maybe we get to see them there and, pre-order them or order them that day type of thing. So there's a lot of things that they're working on. And from the sounds of it, there's about 10 games that are probably close to being ready to talk about, or we'll find out, I guess, June at the June showcase, but that we haven't, that haven't leaked yet, that not even Jez has a project name for type of thing. So there's a lot of stuff that's in the works that, people are excited for, and we can't wait to see or hear more about. The energy is back within the brand, and I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest improvement over this past year. Um, I can't stress it enough that it, as a fan of the brand, it feels great to not have a Friday where it's like, oh, we're closing the studio, oh, we're laying off 1,500 people.
Yes.
Oh, we're raising the price of the console for the umpteenth time. Oh, we're raising the price on Game Pass, or we're discontinuing Game Pass. Whatever the case is, we're not having any of that. We haven't had anything, I would say, of substance really for the past 2 months or 3 months now, that has been that cloud over the brand. Like, it really is. I guess you could say a not a renaissance, but like a reinvention of Xbox.
Resurgence.
A resurgence. Yes, that's a much better way to put it, of the brand. And I love what she's done with the brand so far. We'll see what the showcase holds, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us will be surprised and excited all in the same breath, because like I said, there's things that they are probably going to show us that we have no clue on what the name is, what it's even about. And they're going to try to make this push to lock us into this ecosystem and hopefully attract more to the ecosystem as well. But yeah, the energy is back within the brand. So when people say we're back, yeah, Xbox is back.
Well, you know what? Before we get on out of here, I want to read a little bit more from the article, because it does break down exactly what these numbers mean. And there was a poll that Windows Central did, and it's pretty telling, to where it does line up with this YouGov survey. So check this out. Now, again, this report comes away, or this article comes away, of Adam Hales. I have already put it into the show notes, folks. So if you want to read it for yourself, it's not a long article, but it is got a lot of good information. Adam goes on to say, as we all know, Xbox has a new CEO in Asha Sharma. And as we also likely know by now, the company has undergone a noticeable reset, from leadership reshuffles to branding itself as Xbox in all caps. There has been no shortage of changes over the past few months, all of which have been positive. Now, somewhat surprisingly, political research company YouGov has taken a closer look at the Xbox's recent performance among gamers. Now, remember, folks, this is just here in the United States. And check this out. I'm going to get to the poll in a second, because it's pretty telling. But I want to just finish off what Adam had to say. Adam goes on to say, using metrics such as BuzzScore, which measures whether people are hearing positive or negative things about the brand, and, quote, word of mouth, which they have it abbreviated as WOM, exposure, which tracks how many people are talking about it, YouGov's data offers an interesting look at how gamers are responding to Xbox's new direction. So let's take a look at what they found. And, well, folks, here you go. These are the numbers. Now, we'll get to the numbers in a second. I just want to bring up the poll that Windows Central did, and now we'll get to what the rest of what Adam had to say. Now, of course, if I did this poll, Chat and Fuzzy, you'd have, what, 70 people maybe would like respond. Well, I think Windows Central is a lot bigger than Double Barrel Gaming by leaps and bounds. And here's are the numbers. So they have 4 categories: yes, significantly; yes, somewhat; no, my opinion is unchanged; and lastly, no, my opinion has worsened. Well, we'll start with the bottom and work our way to the top. 5% of people that were polled said, no, my opinion on Xbox has worsened. Okay. 16%, Fuzzy, say, no, my opinion is unchanged about Xbox. And this is where we get to the big numbers. 37% voted in this poll, yes, somewhat. meaning that their opinion of Xbox has improved. And now they get to the biggest number of the poll. Over 42% of people polled said yes, Xbox has improved significantly in 2026. So if you take the two top, which is yes significantly and yes somewhat, that equates to 79% of the poll being positive. That's that 21% being negative. So, I mean, the numbers are there, right? So I think it's safe to say that with the new leadership, with the new voice, with the new ideology and the direction, and all the positive moves that she has done, her and her team, by the way, because there's a lot of the moves come the way of updates to the console, which we haven't seen in years. We're getting major updates. You know, they changed the entire brand to Xbox in all caps. They changed the logo. They changed the startup screen for the Xbox, which is there for insiders. I don't have it yet. They changed a dynamic, background that people asked for. She responded in kind. And even with the logo gate on Friday, 7 p.m., 7:03, if I'm not mistaken, in the evening, he responded in kind. Now, there are some people that are probably in this chat or potential, in the industry that says, "Oh, that was a mistake. She shouldn't have done that." And I disagree, and I'm not going to get into it again. But yes, you should listen to your fans, especially if it's not being egregious or not console worry. There's some actual thought to why you would do something. And of course, one of the biggest voices on socials is Clobriel, who had a lot of really great things to say about why the logos shouldn't be there, right? We're not going to get into it, but look, let me just bring up some of the numbers here. Again, according to the article from Adam Hales, he says, firstly, let's go over the Xbox Buzz score. Back in February of 2026, Xbox had a Buzz score of 8.5 points. Since Asha Sharma took over, that figure has climbed to 20 points as of May, reaching a high of 21.8 points during that period. Goes on to say, it's interesting to see such a sharp increase. And he goes on to continue by saying, while YouGov notes that the growth was entirely linear, it's still impressive to see so much positive buzz being generated around Xbox, especially as things seem to be bleak for such a long time. So I'm going to stop it there. I want to get your final thoughts, Fuzzy, regarding these numbers, and then we'll get everyone on out of here.
It just goes to show that she's bringing the brand or pushing the brand in the right direction. The buzz score going up. I think that's how you get the zeitgeist, or that you get the attention of the market you're trying to capture by increasing your buzz score, being in front of the public, making posts that show how well the ecosystem is situated. Whether it's features or just interactions with your fan base. I think that's the way you ultimately grow the brand, and that's her forte. That's what she did in her previous employment with, I think it was Instacart and stuff. She was in charge of acquiring more of a consumer or database of potential customers and growing their numbers that way. So if she's able to do the same with Xbox, that's all that we can ask, because then that in turn will more than likely ensure that the studios will be able to produce more games and continue to produce the games that we enjoy, and continue to grow the brand. I would still hope to see maybe some of the subsidy stuff for the hardware, but that's a totally separate argument. But yeah, it's as far as like the brand bringing the buzz or increasing that buzz score is probably one of the key things she wants to do within the first few months or in the first year, and then grow it, organically by attracting people to your subscription service or to your hardware or to your games in general. She definitely has a plan on growing the brand. So they're taking notice, and hopefully the gaming media stop doing hit pieces. Well, at least in the short term, it seems like they have stopped doing the hit pieces on Xbox that they used to, where it's like, oh, batteries in a controller and 1080p, although 1080p shouldn't have been a thing even in the Xbox One generation as far as bad mouthing them for it. But yeah, it'll eventually reshape the gaming media's outlook on Xbox to something positive. So that's all that we can hope for.
I absolutely agree, brother. Well, thanks so much for being here for damn near 2 hours. Chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We have almost 600 people watching live. If you are someone that found the channel today, enjoyed the conversation that we had, and you're not already subscribed, please consider doing so. We are literally 93 subs away from 17K, which is a big deal for us. Every time you get 1,000 more of, a number, as we continue to climb and try and hit that, 20, 25K, the more, again, we don't care so much about the numbers. We care more about the content, but we appreciate the numbers because those numbers, the higher they go, they get us into things. They get people that want to work with us. And if you're interested in helping us do that, well, you can simply subscribe, and Mrs. Boom and I would be greatly appreciative of that. Shout out to you, Gray Fox, brother. No problem. I'm glad you enjoyed the conversation. Let me just catch up on super chats here. We have two more actually. Pooski in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Xbox needs to team with Steam and just go petty, take everything off of PlayStation. Xbox has a strong ecosystem. They just need their identity back. I mean, look, I find it so perplexing, Pooski, that Xbox has this incredible legacy group of games coming out this year that should be, there's a lot surrounding Xbox that it should be the talk of the town. It's the 25th anniversary of the brand, the 25th anniversary of Halo Combat Evolved, the 20th anniversary of Gears of War. These are brands that are coming back with new games, even though Combat Evolved is just a remake, and it's a solid remake, right? So there's going to be stuff in there that we didn't have before. Gears is melting eyeballs. Forza's doing breakneck numbers. Fable was a part, but got delayed for good reason, obviously. They have a lot to offer. And not to extend the podcast in any way, but if Clockwork isn't this year, a lot of people think it is. I do as well. But if it's not, next year, your lineup would be a new Call of Duty, State of Decay 3 possibly, Fable, Clockwork, and whatever else they announced at this showcase. And that's surrounding. Blade might be next year. You might get a new console next year. You might get a new Series 3 controller, Elite controller. There is so much happening this year and next. They absolutely should let people know how great their platform is. I hope they get there because their platform is awesome, and it's not console warring. I'm proud to be an Xbot. I don't mind being a bot. I am first and foremost, and I got no problem with it. Do I want Xbox to go back full exclusive? Yeah, I'd actually like that, and I think it'd be really good for the brand if you are serious about selling consoles. But I said it before, and I'll say it again. Her task is daunting. How they get there is going to be very interesting to see. But thanks so much for the super chat, brother. It's me, the broke boy. I actually just saw this. It says, boom, NFL news. Browns are trading. This is crazy to me. Myles Garrett to the Rams. You know what? Look, I'm going to say this. I think Myles is an incredible human being. I've seen some of the work that he's done in regards to his charity, the way he treats people. He is a player's player. If you've ever seen that one where he was talking to one of the Ravens linemen. I think it was one of their offensive linemen. He was I think new to the league. I'm not going to sit here and say this thing. I didn't get tears over this. And the guy says, "Listen, I'm a nobody. Can I get you? Can we trade jerseys?" And Miles just says to him, "Well, you're in the NFL. You're somebody." And he gives him his jersey. Like, just how could you not applaud that kind of awesomeness? So I love Myles Garrett. He's a sack master. I'm going to say this right now. I love you. I love you, Garrett, but you're out of my division. Yes. There you go. You're not going to be sacking any of the Steeler quarterbacks this year unless we play the Rams. And I got news for you. He's going to disrupt the whole whoever's in that division, disruption. So yeah, thanks so much for that. Fuzzy, let's get out of here, brother. I know you got to finish your packing. Gonna get you out of here. You're gonna be taking that long trip. I feel so bad for you, brother. I wish I was Superman. I'd just fly you. I'd take your car and just fly you over to California so you don't have to drive a single road. But he's driving to California, ladies and gentlemen. So he wants to get there in time. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people check out any of the work you're going to be doing? I would imagine that a lot of the podcasting that you normally do will be held off until you guys get back the following week. But if people want to subscribe to your YouTube channel or check out last week's shows, how can they do that, sir?
Well, as always, love doing this podcast with you on Monday afternoons. The countdown is pretty much at its critical moment. Got the showcase right around the corner. So looking forward to it. And like you said, I got to do some packing to get on the road here to first thing tomorrow. But I put the links in the chat for both my YouTube channel as well as my wife's YouTube channel. Please subscribe. It greatly helps us out. And check out some of the previous episodes. As far as for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, a lot of varying horror movies, everything from your AAA horror movies to your B movie, C movie, D movie, Z movie kind of thing. And actually one of our videos is doing rather well with one of the kind of, I guess, Z movies, Psycho Goreman. Pretty strange. Not saying I condone you taking edibles or adult beverages while watching that movie, but it might help as far as it's kind of like a Toxic Avenger, not exact copy, but it's along those kind of strange format and stuff. And it's got a lot of comedy or a lot of humor to it. So definitely check it out. And, not doing a podcast this Friday, but following Friday, I can't remember the name of the movie now that we're supposed to be doing, but just come hang out with us Friday night, 6 p.m. Not this Friday, but the following Friday. I guess that's it'll be like June 15th or something like that. Come hang out with us. It'll be a pretty good time, whatever the movie winds up being. But as always, play your backlog before you see the showcase. Try to at least clear some of those things if you can, because I'm pretty sure they're going to hit us with either some stealth drops or some drops coming later this year that are going to catch us off guard. So yes, be prepared. But as always, take care and hey, have fun this week. A lot of games to be shown this week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just as a gamer, not a bot, Sony show kicks it off on the 2nd. The rumor is that you're getting the next God of War. I'm stoked for that. Tom Henderson reported that they've changed names from Fair Games to something else. I don't think that's going to help. I think there's going to be two really big, holy cow moments at Sony show. I'm very excited for it. God of War, yes. I don't know if he meant it's the new God of War, meaning the sequel to the first two, God of War 2018 and the follow-up, or it's the God of War trilogy that's being remade. Listen, I love Kratos. I would actually be personally more excited for the trilogy of the original to be remade than the third one in the series, because the second one was okay. I love the first one. I'd love to replay the original trilogy in modern graphics control. That'd be dope. Nintendo's gonna have a bunch of surprises. Maybe we get the rumor is we're getting a new Zelda, a new old Zelda. Yes. If it's Ocarina of Time remade, yes. I'm actually still hoping that we're going to get the 30th anniversary remake of Mario 64, which is what I would really like personally. Then Xbox is going to have a killer show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jeff's show is on Friday. Resident Evil Code Veronica is rumored to be there. I think that's the worst kept secret in gaming, to be honest with you. So that's going to be a dope show. I'm going to be at that as well. So yeah, a lot to get excited about. But as an Xbox, get ready, folks. I think it's going to be a killer show, even with logos. But, you know, again, the only time we're going to tell if they can turn this whole thing around. Thank you. A big thank you to all the super chats, gifted subs, channel member chats that continue to come in. Mrs. Boom and I do greatly appreciate it. And of course, we're going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught me with kids. Say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.